I had something on my mind earlier, and I thought, okay, maybe it's okay to talk about it. About dreams. Now, I don't take a whole lot of stock into dreams, but a few years back, for a span of probably about 4 years, I was having a lot of really vivid, detailed dreams that were just so profound and so unusual for me. And I dream pretty much every night, and I have for many years. Even when I was a child, I was always I always have dreams. And but these were totally different. And I would write them down, the time and everything to them. I would write them down, and I still have them wrote down. And there very, very few people have I ever told about any of these dreams, because it's something that I just don't feel comfortable making public or anything on them, because how people would perceive it, But there are a few two or three that I can actually talk about, I think, And whether or not people believe me or not, that's fine. Everybody has their opinion and everything, and I understand. But about 10 years ago, my dad, he got very sick, and he was in the hospital for about 24 days. And this was over the course of Christmas. And he was very sick, and as he got worse and stuff, I think it was about a week before he passed away, all of us was in his room visiting, my siblings and mom, and we were just sitting around different areas in the room, and me and my brother were sitting beside of each other. One area with just me and him, and we were sitting there, and he and I told him, I said I had a dream about Dad last night. And he said, oh yeah, well, what was it? And I started telling him what it was, and he just looked like he was in shock, and his face kind of just got pale, and he said I had the same exact dream. And I said, are you serious? And he started telling me some of it too, because I didn't tell him every little detail, and he started telling me parts of it too, and it was the same as mine, and we kind of went back and forth with that, and I was like, we did have the same dream. It was identical right down to the details, and we were just really in shock. But he had his dream a week before I had mine, and he didn't tell anybody, and he was the first person that I told. For some reason, I just sit there and I was telling him. And his wife walked over, and he said, you ain't gonna believe this. And he told her, he said, we had the exact same dream. And she said, oh really? And I told her what it was, and she said, well, that's confirmation. And it was just so comforting. That dream brought so much comfort, and I still think about that dream. And what it was there at the hospital in the room. Dad had been in a coma, but he come out of it, enough to where we all had time to talk to him and stuff. And then he kind of slipped back down, and was, wasn't awake much. And he was very sick. But in my dream, he was sitting up in the bed, and the room was really bright. It was really bright, like white. And he was sitting up in the bed, and there was these people. I guess they were people. They could have been angels. I'm not sure, but I think it might have been people. But they were all around his bed, standing around his bed. And he was talking, and he was telling about, I don't know what he was talking to them about, but he was telling them stuff. Dad loved to talk to people. He loved family. He loved to talk to people, and he loved to laugh. And he would talk about stuff from his, about way back when, and tell these stories about growing up, and different things, and people that he knew, and all this and that. And well, I can imagine that might have been what he was doing. I don't know, but he was talking, and he was gesturing with his hands, like how some people do, like when they're talking and really into telling something. And these people were all standing around his bed, and the ones at the foot of his bed, the two at the foot of his bed, they just kind of looked at each other, and they had the sweetest smile on their faces, and like they were just loving him so much, and they just loved to hear him, just talking and being there with him. But it was just such a peaceful feeling, and just a wonderful feeling that I felt. And it's almost like I was standing back watching all this happening. I was like back in a corner or in the room or something, just watching all this happening, just witnessing this. And I don't know who those people were. I'd never seen them before in my life. I had no idea who they were. And my brother said the same thing. He said, he said, yeah. He said, I didn't know who they were either. He said, but yeah, he said, I could see them. I mean, and he said, I don't know who they were. And I said, I don't either. And to me, I kind of resigned, like, that was Dad. He was fixing to go to heaven. That's what I think. I really believe that. Now, the other dream that I had was of my sister. She passed away last year. Probably about a month or two before she passed away. And most of my family are Christians, and they have been for many years. And my sister, she loved the Lord so much, and my dad did too. And I had this dream of her where at first I thought it was me, because just all of a sudden there was a door that was standing like in front of me, and it was a white door, and it was just open, maybe like 3 inches or something, just barely open. And then it opened all the way up, and I walked on through the door, and there was my dad standing there on the other side, and he like was holding the door, let me, coming on in, and he had the biggest smile on his face. He looked like he was so happy. He had the biggest smile on his face, and walked on into this room, and he walked right behind me, walked on into this room, and there was people that was standing around and talking and stuff, but I couldn't make out who they were, and it was a little bit kind of fuzzy, so I could not really make out, but it felt so peaceful and calm and everything, and I couldn't make out because it was kind of fuzzy. It wasn't like an enclosed room either. It was like it was open, room or whatever, but it was a little bit kind of fuzzy. I could see like figures, though. I could see like figures kind of walking around and stuff, and I woke up after that, and I remember when I woke up, I wanted to go back to sleep so bad. I wanted to go back to sleep so bad, because that was just great, seeing my dad, and I truly believe that was heaven. And I remember I told my sister about that dream, and she was really quiet for a while. I didn't say that it was her, because I didn't understand that was her at the time. I thought it was me. Because I didn't see myself walking through that door, and I didn't see her. It was like through my eyes what I was seeing, I guess. But I told her about it, and she just quietly whispered, "That was heaven." And I looked at her. I said, "Yeah, I think it was." And after she passed away, I got to really thinking about that dream, and I remember talking to my mom about it afterwards, and I told Mom about it, and I said, Mom, I said, I got to thinking, and I think that door was opening for her, because she was getting ready to leave this world, and she was getting ready to step into heaven, and the door was open for her, because she was dying. And I think that's what it was, and that wasn't me, that was her. That was her walking through that door. Because I didn't see myself. It was through the eyes of somebody that was seeing all this and seeing Dad. And I really, and I still believe that was her. Because I think that was about her. So those were the two dreams that was so profound to me, and they have given me so much peace of mind. And as much as I miss them and stuff, I know that they are with the Lord, and I wouldn't want them to come back to this world the way it is. I mean, as much as I miss them and stuff, I know that they are in so much joy and peace, and surrounded with so much love, and no more suffering for them, no more pain or anything. So, and I know that one day I'll get to see them again. And my sister, she talked about the Lord a lot, and we talked many times about the Bible and stuff, and that's very personal stuff to me. And I wouldn't normally tell anybody about these dreams or anything like that, but they were just really profound to me. And I think that sometimes God will give you comfort even in your dreams. He'll send you a dream or something and to give you some comfort. I think that anyway. That's what I believe anyway. But it's but you got to kind of watch too, and not try to dwell too much on a dream that you have, because if you're trying to make sense of it and stuff, because some dreams that I've had, I can't say what the meaning of them or anything is like that or anything. So, but those type of dreams right there mean the most to me. I think they really, especially if somebody else has had the exact same dream. I mean, that's that is really something. And I might tell another dream the next time, or maybe later on, if anybody wants to hear more dreams that I've had or something. I might consider telling some other ones or something, but there's some that is pretty can be kind of a little disturbing and stuff, but I think it's a lot of spiritual type warfare and stuff or whatever. But there was another dream that I had that actually came true, and I might tell it. I'm not real sure, but let me know in the comments if you've had dreams that similar like mine or something that brought you comfort, that gave you a comfort in knowing that a loved one is with the Lord now. And something that I found out about Dad, and this was years later, and I didn't even know it, was that there was a nurse, a night shift, before he was put into the coma, induced coma. There was a woman that was or a nurse that was on night shift, and she told my sister that the next day she talked to her and told her, said that he was up in the night, late at night, and he was walking the aisles there in ICU, and he was telling the patients and stuff about Jesus. He was testifying about Jesus. And I was just kind of in shock a little bit, but because I did not know Dad to do anything like that. And I found out though, Dad, he talked to a lot of people about Jesus because he wanted people to get saved. But he was walking through the halls there, and he was testifying about Jesus. And so I just thought that was absolutely wonderful, and that lifts my spirits every time I think about that. But I hope you all have a really good day, and hopefully I'll get to make another video tomorrow. It looks like the rain starting to pick up a little bit, and hopefully it's not storming or raining or anything, which that'd be pretty cool doing when it's storming, I guess. But y'all have a good day, and God bless you all, and remember that Jesus loves you very much.